The next lady that will be speaking here this evening, we've known her since she's been 6 years old. I'll never forget coming home from church one day, and this young lady, she came to live in our house, we thought, for just a little bit of time, and she was probably about this tall, well, not much taller than she is right now, but I walked into my garage. I walked through the garage, and this little girl with big brown eyes and dark hair and this deep, booming voice, when she was 6 years old, she goes, "Hi." And then what she said, it impacted me from that time until now. She goes, "Hi, are you Wendell?" And I said, "Yes, I am. Thank you for asking." I said, "What's your name?" She goes, "My name is Kellie Joy Butler." Amen. And from that day until now, she has impacted our life. And I didn't mention, we're so glad that our other daughter is with us here tonight. She lives out of town. Her and Michael, Jennifer, we're glad that they're here tonight as well. God bless you, Jennifer. Amen. And so this young lady, she was going to come be with us just for a little bit of time, for about a month, I believe is what they said. And when she first came, she says, "I'm only being here for just a little while." She says, "I'm going to go back home." And little did she know, and little did we know, and that God's plan was for her to stay with us and to alter our lives from that day until now. And indeed, her mother named her correctly Kellie Joy, because she is indeed a joy to be able to have. And so Kellie Joy, she told me several years ago, she said, "God called me to be a missionary." And I'm praying against that, but no, not really, not really. She did say God called me to be a missionary several years ago when she was a little kid. And so her and her husband are in the ministry today. Kellie Joy Maynard Bauske, we want to present her to you tonight. God bless you, Kellie Joy.
You guys are scary looking. It's a lot harder up here than it is down there. Or in teen class when there's like 20 of them and the lights are off. When Sister McKay called me and asked me if I would like to speak tonight, the first words out of my mouth were, "No, I'm not a mother. I'm not going to speak on Mother's Day. Right now, I'm at the easiest part of being a mother. I don't have to change diapers, pay babysitters, stay up all night with sick children. It's free." So I told her by the end of the conversation, her trying to convince me, I was like, "You know what, let me think about it, and I'll get back to you." And that night, my husband convinced me, "You should do it." And I said yes, and I've regretted it ever since. So here I am, and I was really struggling with what to talk about tonight. I don't have the experience of a mother. And last Sunday night, I was sitting in the back as my dad was talking, looking at him with all his years of experience of preaching. And all I could see me doing up here is falling down the stairs or tripping over my skirt or dropping the microphone. And about that time, his glasses fell apart in his pocket. So thank you for allowing God to teach me a lesson. I'm glad I learned it last week so my mom wouldn't fall down the stairs this morning as she was walking up here. But when I finally felt I was going in the direction God wanted me to go, I wrote down my notes, and I was feeling pretty good this morning. I filled up about half a page, and I typed it out this afternoon, and it was about this big. And I was like, great, I have a long way to go. So, and I also realized why preachers talk about so many different things in one message, because it's really hard to find just one thing to talk about for 10 minutes, and I'm up here just for 10 minutes, and I don't think it's even been 2. So, tonight I'm going to talk about mothers, and I have tissues here because I'm going to cry. I'm very emotional. Just last week I was crying because I could not get my bathtub clean My husband came home, and I was laying in bed weeping. And he asked me what's wrong, and I was like, because the bathtub won't get clean. I can't get it. And that's me and my pregnant emotional self. But mothers have a tough job. My mom had to raise me as a teenager, and it was tough. And I'm sure all you mothers feel that with your teenagers. Now, in the short time that I've been youth pastor, I pray for you guys even more, because when they're all together, it's worse. So I was listening to the radio this past week as I was trying to clean the bathtub, and the guy on there was saying, women are always saying how motherhood is the toughest, roughest job, and we need to start calling out these women. Nobody ever calls them out and corrects them. And I'm thinking, many have tried to call them out, but none of them have lived to see another day. If I could have called and told them that, I would have. But I may not be able to say this from a mother's point of view, but I can say it from a child's point of view. You guys do have the toughest job. And as looking back from where I am now, a lot of the things my mom did when I was a kid did not make sense, but now they do. And I'm a lot like my mom. And I always told my brothers, I was like, you are so like mom. I was like, I don't want to be like mom. Don't make me like mom. All my friends were scared of my mom. But she had to deal with a lot. She really did. But there's nothing like a mother's love for her children, is what we always hear. But I think there is. God's Helpers is a poem that I found today. God could not be in every place with loving hands to help erase the teardrops from each baby's face, and so he thought of mother. He could not send us here alone and leave us to a fate unknown without providing for his own the outstretched arms of mother. God could not watch us night and day and kneel beside our crib to pray or kiss our little aches away, so he sent us mother. And when our childhood's days began, he simply could not take command. That's why he placed our tiny hand securely into mother's. The days of youth slipped by, life's sun rose higher in the sky. Full grown were we, yet never an eye to love us still was mother. And when life's span of years shall end, I know that God will gladly send to welcome home his child again, that ever faithful mother. You may ask, what in the world is stronger than a mother's love? And that's the child's love for their mother. Moms here tonight, there's nothing you can do that'll make a child not love you. I've experienced two totally different mothers in my past. As he said, I am adopted. I came to live in the Maynard family when I was 6. Before that, my life was rocky. We moved from place to place. My mother would leave me alone for days. At the age of 5, I have no idea why I remember this, and I really think it was because God provided. I somehow figured out, after being left alone for a while, how to work the stove. And I remember telling my mom this story. And I heated up a can of soup. I pulled up a chair and started stirring. I'm lucky I didn't burn the place down. I really don't ever remember having any belongings in our house. I have no idea where the pan came from. But it came from somewhere. And God was already protecting and providing for me back then. But Mother's Days are hard for me. We always read all these nice poems and praise mothers for the jobs they do. And every single one of you deserve it. I was blessed with Sister Maynard, who is the best mother any child could ask for. She taught me so much and took that broken little girl who was pulled up in her driveway with a bag of clothes and probably the worst haircut ever, and put me and formed me into the lady I am today. But as a child on Mother's Day, I couldn't help but think how none of this related to my birth mom. I would hear these poems daily, When I was first adopted, Sister Maynard would hold me almost every night as I cried for a mom who abandoned me. I wept and wept. She abandoned me over and over again for the drugs that she wanted more than me. The mom that would never or would miss often most of my visits. So God, what about the children who have moms like that? What do they do on Mother's Day? You know what they do? They continue to love their mothers. Because no matter how many times my mom abandoned me, I laid there at night and wept for the woman that would never come back. She would never come back to my life. And I always expected her to. I never, ever thought that she would not come back. Like Brother Maynard said, I told him that I wasn't staying very long and I was going back home to the mom that, if I was lucky, I would see her every couple of days. So those of you who had struggles at being a mom and you feel like you're completely failing, let me encourage you tonight that your children will never stop loving you. I still love my birth mom to this day. Haven't talked to her since I was probably 8 years old. And I don't know where she is, but I would like to thank her for giving me the opportunities that I've been blessed with. I know that she didn't plan for her life to go in the direction that it went. No mother plans to have her children taken away from her. And my mom had 5 taken away from her. But as my sister knows, who's also adopted, her mom didn't plan to have her kids taken away from her. But she made the hardest decision any mother could ever make, and that is letting your child go. But if it wasn't for her, I would not be at this pulpit today. The things I went through as a child were the foundation of my testimony. Because there is no way I would be here and the kind of person that I am today if it wasn't for the decisions and the choices she made, no matter how bad they were and wrong they were at the time. And I hope on this Mother's Day, wherever my mom is, I pray she's not focusing on those mistakes she's made as a mother, but that she knows that she did the right thing in the end. I didn't realize it as a child, but in that single decision of letting me go was her way of showing me just how much she cared for me. Because it was the best thing that she could have ever done. She realized that she just could not do it alone. She was not in a place in her life where she could have given me what I needed. So those mothers who have sons and daughters that have completely turned their backs on everything you taught them as a child, you see them making the same mistakes you made when you were their age. You may feel like a failure tonight. There's that empty seat next to you where they used to sit every Sunday. You drag them to church. You may ask God, what did I do wrong? I trained up my child. I did everything right. I brought them to church and I taught them their ways. But they resent me. Where did I go wrong with my children? Well, let me tell you, just like you were at their age, God has a plan for them. Their story isn't over. They will one day be sitting next to you again. They will come back. Things are the way they are for a reason. Don't blame yourself and think you went somewhere wrong. God is moving in their lives whether they know it or not, whether they want it or not. Don't think for 1 second that God has forgotten your children. Because they will soon realize that there was a reason behind all those times you dragged them to church. and we're here 3 hours early to be here for some meeting or for praise practice or tune your instruments or whatever you do. But one day they will be back. So while you're waiting, just love them. Because the only thing more powerful than a mother's love is her child. Child's love for their mother. And when the time comes, that love for you and all the sacrifices you've made will be a stepping stone for them to get back to church and in the right direction. So I close with a verse, and also from Proverbs 31. And I believe God has this in the Bible, this Proverbs 31 for women, not only to describe women, but to encourage them. Because when I'm reading it, I'm like, yes, that's me. So, she is clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. When she speaks, her words are wise, and she gives instructions with kindness. So, next time you mothers are having a bad day, you burned supper, you're tired, the kids are screaming and fighting all day, you feel like a failure, your teenager is giving you attitude, and your husband comes home and looks around and sees the smoking pans in the sink, the laundry isn't done, the living room is a mess, and he innocently asks, so what did you do all day today? And you just want to throw something at him. I have not experienced this. I haven't experienced this, Rob, yet. But I've seen it happen. And you just want to throw something at him. Remember that no matter how bad your day is, or how you feel at the end of the day, your child will always love you, and they will always look up to you, and you can't do anything to stop that.